Most will remember Brian Lawler, son of Jerry the King Lawler, as Grandmaster Sexay in the WWE, where he, Scotty Hotty and Rikishi made up the Too Cool stable. Fans who had access to the USWA in the 90s though would remember Too Sexy Brian Christopher, one of the most successful superstars ever in the territory. While Brian would bring the Too Sexy heel gimmick to the WWE, it wasn't until he sported the goggles and began dancing with Scotty and Rikishi that he started making decent money within Vince McMahon's promotion. Many aren't aware of just how over Brian was in the USWA. So successful was Brian Christopher that he had to use a little red wagon to bring his championship gold around with him so he didn't hurt his back from all the weight of the belts. In total, Brian Christopher won a staggering 44 championships in the USWA, with 24 of these being world title reigns. In the WWE, Christopher was used to launch the light heavyweight division, and from there he captured tag team gold. We are all aware of the downward spiral of Brian Christopher's career, mixed with personal issues that ultimately led to his death. What you may not know though is Brian was actually a very well liked and kind-hearted man when he was sober. For example, at a Maryland Championship Wrestling show, Brian gave the promoter Dan McDevitt half of his booking fee back without being prompted to. This was just because the show didn't draw as expected. McDevitt said of the gesture, "In 25 years in pro wrestling, he is the only star that has ever done that. He had his demons, but that's how I remember him, how he treated me, as a good, kind-hearted dude." So in this video, we will look at the life and career of Brian Christopher. Brian was born on January 10th, 1972 in Memphis, Tennessee. Growing up, his father Jerry Lawler was a huge star in Memphis, and Brian would be attending school while his father got worldwide fame thanks to the feud he had with Andy Kaufman. Wanting to learn how to wrestle, Brian found himself in small backyard promotions around Memphis before his father gave him proper formal training. When Jerry felt Brian was good to go, he was started in Jerry Jarrett's USWA promotion, a company that Jerry Lawler helped build. The USWA was founded as an attempt to create a third national promotion alongside Jim Crockett Promotions and the WWF. The USWA was created through a merger of the WCCW from Texas and the CWA, which was based in Memphis. Jerry Lawler was a headliner during the early days of the USWA, and he helped keep the promotion sort of relevant during the 90s. Brian Christopher first came into the USWA as part of the tag team The Twilight Zone, wrestling under a mask along with Tony Williams. They would eventually unmask and become known as the New Kids, even switching their theme song to Hanging Tough by New Kids on the Block. Brian would rise to superstardom within the USWA as a singles competitor. What is interesting though is he never really used his father's fame to help get himself over. Sure, there were little hints here and there in the early days, but Brian's rise as a main player in the USWA did not include any direct involvement from his dad. The relationship would be used a bit more near the end of the USWA's time as an active promotion, but Brian was already well established at this time. This, I feel, was the right thing to do. In contrast, owner Jerry Jarrett's son, Jeff Jarrett, was pushed to the moon thanks to his father being the owner. I know this may upset Jarrett fans, but come on, the guy was literally billed as the Golden Boy. Speaking of Jeff Jarrett, one of his biggest rivals in the USWA was Brian Christopher, and honestly, Jarrett became a better wrestler thanks to working with Christopher. This isn't a plug, but those with Amazon Prime can see it for themselves, as there's a lot of USWA shows available on the service. You'll be able to see that Jarrett's work only got better as time went on, thanks to working with guys better than him, like Brian Christopher. I know it doesn't sound right saying that a guy like Christopher was outperforming Jarrett, but he definitely was. Even on the mic, Christopher couldn't be touched in the USWA. Another accolade we should mention here is that The Rock teamed up with Brian Christopher in the USWA before making his proper TV debut with the WWF. The USWA had a working relationship with the WWF that opened the doors for talent trades. The USWA was used by WWF to sharpen up the skills of new competitors, while the USWA benefited from getting special appearances from big names in the WWF. After Pat Patterson got Dwayne Johnson some tryout matches in the WWF in '96, Dwayne was sent to USWA to get TV experience. In his first match in the USWA, he worked as Flex Kavana and teamed up with Brian Christopher. Brian has said afterwards that he kept The Rock calm during his debut and also helped him out with his very first TV promo. Brian Christopher worked as a babyface in the USWA, but it really was his work as a bad guy that got him over. He would become too sexy Brian Christopher in the USWA, and his work as a slimy, devious and cocky heel was truly amazing. As mentioned earlier, there is a fair amount of Brian's work in the USWA available on the Prime service, and you definitely get a taste of how good the guy was by watching what's available. What does become clear though, even with the limited amount of Brian's work that is available online, is that Brian was over in the USWA. It's quite sad that many fans instantly dismiss Christopher due to his tenure within the WWF and have even gone as far to make parody videos of the guy when his return to WWE was met with no real reaction. Perception is reality, and some fans unfortunately see the WWE as the be all and end all. We get tied up on how good guys like DDP and Raven were before they got to the WWE, but because the USWA didn't have the same exposure as WCW or even ECW, fans didn't have a chance to see what Christopher was truly capable of before coming to the WWF. The Monday Night Wars were in full effect in '96 and the USWA struggled to stay relevant. The USWA's biggest crowds were at the Mid-South Coliseum every Monday night, and of course these fans had now decided to stay home and watch Raw and Nitro on Monday nights. In 1997 the USWA went out of business. Brian Christopher would sign a WWF contract that year, working in both the WWF and helping in the USWA during its last days. Brian was brought into the WWF to be a part of the light heavyweight division. I made a video a few weeks back looking at the light heavyweight title in '97, so I won't talk about it too much here. What's noteworthy though is, due to his size, Brian was seen as someone not ready to step into the big leagues against the likes of Shawn Michaels, Undertaker and Bret Hart within the WWF. He was seen as a small guy, and small guys were what Vince wanted for his light heavyweight division. This, I feel, hindered Brian Christopher. I'm not saying for a second that he should have been put into a feud right away with Bret Hart or even added to D-Generation X, but Brian Christopher, for years, had been a huge main event player in the USWA. He was more than capable on the mic, and he didn't really work like a cruiserweight either, but it is what it is. Brian's first match on the WWF saw him defeat Tommy Rogers on Shotgun Saturday Night in June 1997. The Too Sexy gimmick that Brian brought over from the USWA, I thought was great. I know people don't like it, but I thought it was hilarious. Brian would act like a complete creep as he made his way down the ramp, strutting slowly to the ring with some of the most exaggerated facial expressions in wrestling. His trademark laugh screeched through the arena and through TV sets, something again that some people didn't like, but I thought it was funny. I really liked the Too Sexy character, much more than the Grandmaster Sexay gimmick he would find success with within the WWF. I guess it comes back to how much I just prefer heels over babyfaces. Jerry Lawler during this time denied constantly that Brian was his son on TV, but the fans knew better. It was used more as a running joke. Brian Christopher made it to the finals of the light heavyweight title tournament, but was defeated by Taka Michinoku at In Your House D-Generation X. From here, Brian would form a tag team with light heavyweight wrestler Scott Taylor. The duo first tagged together at WrestleMania 14, taking part in a tag team battle royal. After Mania, the pair would continue to team up on WWF B shows, with Scott working as a straight no-nonsense wrestler, while Brian continued to be egotistical and over the top. Soon, Taylor began acting just like Brian, adopted the name Scott Too Hot Taylor, and the tag team was named Too Much. Very soon, they were renamed as Too Cool, where the pair would parody hip-hop culture, rapping at their opponents while completely overdoing it in the wardrobe department. Scott Taylor would be renamed as Scotty Too Hotty, and Brian Christopher was renamed as Grandmaster Sexay. Although Too Cool continued to work as villains, towards the end of 1999, Rikishi joined the group and the team was turned into massive fan favourites. Most, when hearing the name Too Cool, will instantly think of the trio dancing in the ring as the lights went down in the arena. A favourite moment of mine came at the 2000 Royal Rumble match. Rikishi and Grandmaster Sexay were in the ring alone, and it appeared that the dominant Rikishi was about to throw his Too Cool teammate out of the match. Scotty Too Hotty was the next entrant, and just in the nick of time, he ran into the ring holding Rikishi's sunglasses. Grandmaster Sexay put the glasses on Rikishi, and the trio had a dance in the middle of the Royal Rumble match as the usually harsh New York crowd went totally nuts. If you want to see how popular Too Cool was, look no further than this moment. In the end, Rikishi put an end to the dancing and eliminated both Scotty Too Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, but the team stayed together and all was well. Too Cool received their biggest push when they entered into a feud against the McMahon-Helmsley regime, mainly wrestling against DX members Road Dogg, Mr. Ass and X-Pac. Too Cool would also have matches against the debuting Radicals, helping the WCW stars find their feet in the WWF. Too Cool's success would peak later in the year when Scotty and Sexay defeated Edge and Christian for the tag team titles on an episode of Raw on May 29th, 2000. Rikishi would also win the Intercontinental title a month later. In 2001, Brian Christopher was released from the WWE, and here begins the problems. It was reported by the Calgary Herald that Brian was caught at Calgary International Airport with weed, coke and methamphetamine. It was something of a shock as Brian wasn't known as a big partier during his whole professional tenure, much like his father. This would mark the beginning of a downward spiral for Brian Christopher, as it seemed when he lost his job in the WWE, things just kept getting worse and worse. From June 2002 until April 2004, Brian worked for TNA as Brian Lawler. He formed a group called Next Generation with fellow second generation stars David Flair and Eric Watts. As Jim Ross's last act as head of talent relations in WWE, Brian Christopher was rehired and began work again with the company. Just 1 month later, John Laurinaitis took over as head of talent relations, and Brian was released after working just 4 matches. Brian would then go on to work in the independents. He did make appearances again in the WWE, notably when he came back as part of a feud between his dad and Michael Cole, and also on an episode of Old School Raw when Too Cool defeated 3MB in 2014. Brian had some serious problems during this time in his life. In 2009, he was arrested twice for disorderly conduct and public intoxication, threatening police officers after getting arrested. He spent 30 days behind bars in July 2009 after failing to attend a treatment centre as part of his plea bargain. Also in 2009, Brian was involved in a massive backstage fight with wrestler Bishop. Reports posted online say that the fight was scary, involving Brian Christopher using handcuffs and Bishop using a barbed wire baseball bat. Yes, it sounds like an ECW match from 1996, but this was very legit. There were times people thought the fight had stopped, but then they went at it again and again. Both guys had lacerations after the fight, but Brian definitely looked worse for wear. This wouldn't be the only fight Brian was involved in 2009, as it was reported that Brian got into a scrap with some MMA guys and a group of bikers where he took another bad beating. Photos were also uploaded online by Wrestling Inc. that showed Brian Christopher's swollen and beaten face after getting into a scuffle with former TNA star Chase Stevens. The picture we have painted then is that when Brian was clean and sober, he was a kind-hearted and good guy, but the alcohol would make him confrontational and obnoxious. It's the classic case of Jekyll and Hyde. Brian's dad Jerry would constantly be there to bail his son out and help him financially, only for Brian to again and again get into trouble, either with the law or his own personal demons. For the years that followed, Brian battled his demons, but seemingly he couldn't overcome them. It's made even more sad that, according to those that knew him personally and professionally, Brian had managed to avoid this lifestyle for so long, even during the majority of his WWE career. Brian Lawler was spotted by police swerving and speeding at 1 AM in the morning, and he failed to stop when the police tried to pull him over. The police said in a report that was obtained by TMZ that when Lawler did stop, he reeked of booze and had an open 12-ounce can of beer in his centre console. He was held on $40,000 bail. Instead of bailing his son out, Jerry Lawler felt it was necessary to teach his son a lesson and decided to let him stay in police custody. Jerry had tried again and again to help his son, and he paid again and again to bail him out, but this time he decided he needed his son to do his time, and hopefully this would be the wake-up call Brian needed to sort his life out. While in jail, Brian attempted to hang himself. He was rushed to a Memphis hospital where he was pronounced brain dead, and his dad, Jerry, turned off his life support machine when he arrived. Brian was only 46 years old when he passed away. Jerry refused to believe his son would take his own life, and he launched an investigation into the incident. Just April this year, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation had wrapped up the investigation and had turned it over to a district attorney. It remains to be seen if the investigation's findings will be made public.